Okay, team. So right before this, there was something that I didn't understand, which was effectively how to start the Mongo database. And the reason is previously there used to actually be two terminal commands that you used to have to use. I am kind of used to having what looks like unintelligent sort of server data coming back and forth when I open it. However, I watched again this video. This gentleman is incredible. Zarko Maslaric, he understands what he is doing when it comes to this MongoDB installation. If ever you are confused as to what to do here, just Google his name. That's Zarkom, MongoDB in YouTube, and he should pop up. This person deserves a like and a subscribe if you're into this stuff. I don't subscribe because this is the only time I interface with his work. He very clearly here defines that all you really have to do is sort of say this mongosh command, and then this type of letterage will show up. And that's what I did. I just said mongosh right here, and that letterage showed up. And that effectively means that the Mongo database is open to use. What does that even mean? Indeed. So and this is why I liked having the second PowerShell, the second command in the background, because some of these things became a little bit easier to understand in that context. So if you think about it from the perspective of you're making a phone call. So you're making a phone call to the Mongo terminal. That's what's happening. So right now, your computer, you have to like yell at this terminal and be like, "Yo, a call is coming your way," and it's not intelligent enough on its own to sort of know that that call is coming. So you have to prepare Mongo to know that you're going to be linking with it. So you effectively have to do what they say, open up the terminal or open up the server or the database. And in order to do that, you have to go into, a terminal window, and I use PowerShell for this one. And you have to basically dial up. So imagine back in the day of internet dial-up. That's what we're doing here. You have to say mongosh, and what that'll do is it'll connect into, from your terminal, it will find mongosh as the command, and it will run and open the MongoDB database for you from the PowerShell terminal. And that is what you need to be able to then begin interacting with the database. So fingers crossed, that's the only thing that was different here. Let's see how things progress, and if we have any more hiccups on the way. Welcome to Coding for Dummies, taught by a dummy who taught herself how to code through the dumb way. Okay, so we have opened the database. So that is why there are two steps here. First, you had to open the database. Then you had to make sure it was running. There were these two commands before. It was mongod and mongosh, and you had to update them differently if you're familiar with that. Now the command is mongosh only. You basically just have to go into your PowerShell and put that in there. Fantastic. Okay, these two are, this is NA, or I should say superseded. And then this is done. Perfect. Okay, so in the Node.js file, activate the capability to, okay, so now we need the same Mongoose toolbox inside our Node.js file. And for those of you who don't remember what the Node.js file is, the Node.js file is sort of that middle file that makes the phone calls, and it's sort of your networking file that connects everything together. In our VS Code, we had created that file right there. We already installed Mongoose. That's when we created the file, so that I had a place to say merely that I was installing Mongoose so I could keep track of it. Now we are going to start coding. So basically, in the similar manner here where we brought in the capability to use the toolbox Mongoose into creation of models. We need that same language here to be able to manipulate and use those models. So we have now brought it into our node.js file. Fantastic. Okay, this step is done. Okay, now we have to import the structure that we sent ourselves from the models folder. So if you recall here, we created this folder and then we created this model in it, and then we said we were going to export this module out. Now we need to bring that module into the Node.js file. That's what we're going to do here. And I'm going to actually code this slowly because I want to see the language as we are doing it. So we're going to do it. So basically, and you can give yourself notes. I recommend at the beginning to bring quite a bit of notes that you want to be able to do. So I like having notes. I'm not fancy. I don't remember anything. So here I'm going to say bringing in capability for the program. And then here I'm just going to say bringing in variables from other parts of the program. Awesome. Just assume you're dumb and life will be a lot better for you. So const, then I'm going to create this as, I'm just going to say structure exported. So I remember that it was the exported structure. I have previously called it structure imported. However, I have also made quite a bit of mistakes with that. So I'm just going to change it to exported here because I don't like the errors. You could call this something else if you wanted to. I don't really like having that kind of variability in it. I like everything being associated to the same stuff. Hopefully I didn't mess it up. Then go equal to requires. So now it requires, you have to find this pathway now. So this is an easy thing. This is not a big deal. So you just go here. You are saying you require this from, and it's in quotes now. So it's like, oh, I'm going somewhere. And you're like, yes, indeed. From this point, slash. So the dot means go, you are in the file we are in now. From this file, look for other folders. And the reason that is important is because if you think about this program being deployed on the internet, it doesn't know, where your C drive is. So this is called relative positioning, effectively. So I'm going to say, from where I'm standing, go right or left. And you're saying from where you're standing in this folder right now, go and look for something that looks like a folder, and that folder is called models. There we go. Now we do this. It's already there, available for us. We don't have to type it. We just hit tab. Done. So that is error proofing how to code. Now you create X. Now this is a block of code that you're going to just copy and paste into it. And we're going to talk about what this block of code is very quickly here. Okay, hopefully this block of code still works. So here we go. So now I want to connect to the actual database, but from my file, because you're not going to have a terminal where you are from that point. Oh no. I already know that squiggly line because this happens to me quite a bit, and that's because the rest of this is down here. I hate this part. I always make this error. So I know it's error because of that. So I'm going to come back down here and be like, oh, we weren't done. Paste the rest of this now. There we go. Fantastic. Now I've written certain reminders to myself here. I don't fully understand what the entire block of code means. However, this is the block of code you have to write to be able to connect to this thing. You don't actually need to understand what all of this means. And this is the joy of coding, where a lot of times people start to explain quite a few different things. And my opinion to that is like, well, do I ever need to know this again? And if you just have to copy and paste the same thing over and over again, then you don't. So basically here, it's saying that you have to catch an error, and if an error occurs, bring it up on the console here. That's all it said here from my understanding. And then this is an asynchronous function, and what that, it's asynchronized. What does that mean to the computer? Do you know enough about computers to care about this, or do you really just want the code? And that's the trade-off that you have to make here. Some things are important and valuable, but you don't always have to know all of them. So here now, it's waiting for, again, it's going into the toolbox and it's connecting to this this file in this folder. I typically change the name here of the folder that I'm working in. So I've got Hello World written here, but that's just because this is generally structured for my my test here. So I'm going to keep that name as Hello World. And if you scroll here, it says wanted the actual address, localhost didn't work. So for me, when I was doing this here, it originally said localhost. And I was online and that did not work for me, so I had to MacGyver this to say this one, and that's the only way it connected. So I did that. Then it says, okay, if the connection, once the connection is open, so this console.log means when this happens, then put this on the console. So log it. Console is the same thing as terminal. Now, these languages change here and there from the different languages. Console means terminal. Sometimes console.log could be terminal.print. Log and print mean the same thing as well. Why do they have so many words for different things? I don't know. If you use Python or some of the other languages, you'll get it to say print. And it won't be console.log, but in this case, we have console.log. In a different language, it will be printed on a screen is what you're saying, basically. So once it's connected, this is what I want printed on the screen. If there is an error, then I want the error to be checked here. If there's an error, check if you're running the Mongo in the PowerShell. This is an error I created for myself because I often would start the whole thing up and I would forget to activate the PowerShell right here, as we did with the Mongosh, and that would be the error that would come up for me most often. And so I was like, you know what, just write this down so you have a reminder for yourself that this is the most common problem that you are doing. So this is just something that did not work for me, so I'm just going to delete it here. Okay, perfect. We shall see if all of this worked momentarily. So now we have this. Note in this step, we are creating a connection from your Node.js file, where did we go? Program into the database. Take a look at the connect command. Mongoose.connect this. We are calling the Mongo database to give it information. So, you know, before you would use, if you use a phone, each number that you press has its own specific dial tone. And that's how information is transmitted, usually using dial tones and acoustics over some of these different various radio frequencies. Previously, even if you do something like Morse code, that would have a dial tone associated to it as well. So right here, as you learn with a specific phone number, you need to be able to have an address to that. That address is specified here. So this is basically the calling card for our database. Your computer is equipped with a number of different addresses, and this is one of them. So every time in my labs, I have this red section because, again, extremely error-prone human being here. To reduce the possibility of error, it is important to make sure that the work we have done so far is correct. Our code will do what we are expecting it to do. And our code does. From our current work, we are expecting what? We are expecting that 2 strings, one with a name and one with a message from our program, will be saved into this database. It's important to check our work all the time. So check that the database and the program link together. Now, eventually, we are going to do this using a standard HTML website format. However, before I even get there, I want to make sure that I did this right. Because if it's not done right now, then it doesn't matter how fancy my website looks. If I can't save anything into the database, then I can't save anything into the database. Okay, so here now, all I have done here is I've said, from the toolbox, bring me these tools. Take that structure that I had created in the model and bring it in for me to use in this file, and then call the database. That's it. This is call the database. Here, we'll put it up here. Call the database. That's it. And this is a block of code that calls the database. And now we're going to create our first variable so it has an input that we can manipulate. Const, there we go. First input, I'm creating this variable, is equal to new structure exported. We changed it. So I should change it here as well. Structure exported. And then I'm just going to copy and paste this message here. There we go. Copy, go here, structure exported. Whatever these brackets are, the squiggly brackets, put it in there. And then, obviously, an error has happened. And we don't know why. New structure exported. Name variable. Structure exported. This should not be an error, but it is an error, obviously. Let us just copy it and see if I made an error here. I also type wrong a lot. Oddly enough, that fixed it, so I may have opened the wrong squiggly brackets. Let's just double check it. Okay, what's different? I think that's important to check. Here, let's see. That's the same, that's the same. Structure exported, that's the same. Bracket open, bracket close. Welcome to coding, everybody. Welcome to coding. Aha, see? What is the error here? The quotes. So you have to finish the end quote there. And this is a very common thing with a lot of this stuff, is punctuation is extremely important. You know, and I like having punctuation as being important because then you know when you've made an error. And it's one of the primary reasons why someone like myself, I do not like Python as a coding language, because Python is very forgiving on punctuation. And, you know, whole blocks of code can run and you wouldn't even know that you've made a mistake. I know I'm making a mistake. I want to know. So now I have to go into the bash Unix terminal. Where is our bash terminal? This is our bash terminal. We are in hello world. Fingers crossed. We have to put the code node.js. Node.js. Mongo connection is open. Hello database should be created. Wonderful. It has never happened so seamlessly before. And so I think we should all congratulate ourselves that this is not the point in which an error was made. We can continue on. Please know that if you have made an error, you are going to be extremely frustrated at this point because you're going to have to go back to everything, double check everything, and then from there, you're going to have to figure out what's going on. So once the Node.js file runs, and you know what? Listen, if it makes you feel better, I'll actually show it here in my videos. It's the most ridiculous of things I ever did, and I keep it because it's a reminder to me of how silly coding can be. So this is a former life of mine where I was coding an app here, and I'm going to show it to you because oh, sorry, I'm just gonna mute it so we don't have to listen to the talking over of it. Okay, so let's look at this. So here, okay, so this is an extremely boring explanation of my technology that I was creating. Okay, so now this is fascinating. Okay, look. I want everybody to pay attention to this now. It's the most useless thing I have ever coded. So you see the 15 kilowatts and the circle that the 15 kilowatts is on. Notice the pulsing wave there. It took me 1 week to figure out how to do that. And for reasons beyond my comprehension, I had OCD, so I had to do it. The number of errors made to get there were so significant that I almost gave up coding. But this is the path to success, is frustration. You just have to kind of get through some of these awkward things, and then kind of that works in that way. Okay, so for us, luckily, huzzah, this worked out. And now we are at, once the node.js file runs, successfully terminate the session. Hilarious. I don't know why I did this. Haha. Okay. Control C terminates the session. Activate the node environment in the bash. Okay, that's why. So I always do it twice because I forget. So what does it mean to activate the node environment inside the terminal? So this is the terminal that's allowing me to be like, okay, now that I've done this extremely boring exercise, what actually happened in the background of the computer, basically. So now I'm like, well, I have to go and start being able to interface in Node. And Node is basically that language that, the Unix terminal understands, and that's the language that we have to sort of get into to be able to understand if what we wanted to do is what got done. So here now we hit Node. Okay, wonderful. It is working for us. Welcome to Node. Thank you very much. And then it's like activate the node environment. I have done so. Thank you for, and I like idiot-proofed instructions. Listen, life is tough enough without pretending to be smart all the time. So now it's like load the node file into the node environment. Indeed. .load. Simple. Node.js. Now, it looks simple, right? However, if you don't know these languages and you don't know how the different tools are going to interact, then you have zero reason to understand what is going on, which is why I try to create this program for everybody to simplify it so nobody needed to know anything other than what is in this. And then from this base of knowledge, you can add complexity to your toolbox. So here now, wonderful. This is what happened. This is giving me like a breakdown of everything that went on in the node file. You can read here now. It's like, okay, so it basically just loads the entire program into the bash terminal. And it's like, this is what we were doing. Is this what you wanted us to do? And I'm like, thank God. Like, now I know all of this stuff has worked here. All of this stuff got loaded in. This is stuff that we have just put in. And it's all written in a different, it's not color coded as nicely as this is, but we do know that all of this got loaded in into this program, and it's working the way that we kind of wanted to. So this is sort of your you're sort of intercepting what happened from your VS Code file into the computer. So it's like, okay, yeah, this is what I meant to do. All of this work. Now it says here pending. So it's pending a promise. Connection from node is open. Hello world should be created. Okay, so it started everything, and then it step by step loaded everything. And look at this line here. The connection should be created. We saw this before. We saw this when we ran it as the node file, node.js. We just ran this, and it said exactly what we wanted it to say. Now we are actually peeling back the onion. So node here is node here, and then load the node.js file is this node.js file. So we are doing it manually, basically, to be able to do some troubleshooting and manipulation here. Okay, so that is done. That is done. If our work is correct, then the variable we created will show up in the bash terminal. So let's look for this variable. We have to find this variable, the first variable. Did we call it the first variable? We did not. We called it the first input, so it would be awkward if it was stored in this. First input is what we called it. Okay, so let's see if this worked out. Yes. First, there we go. It automatically loaded for us. There is the first input, dummy variable, message, check if working. So it is working. Now, thank God all of that worked. Command, successful implementation. We deserve a bit of a celebration today for that one. Good job. Okay, now we want to go into the database and see if the database was created. Now, if you remember, the database we are using the PowerShell terminal for. So in order to go here, we've technically already got this open. We want to put the command show database. So show DBS. There we go. And you can see that hello world is indeed created here. Now, we want to look into hello world and see if our variable is in there. Now, here's a test for everybody. Think about it logically. Should the first input already be in your hello world database or not? Think about it. In order to get into the database and see what's inside it, we have to use hello world. Sorry, world. There we go. So I've switched to that database in the local PowerShell terminal, and I'm now going to say, okay, show me the collections. So show collections. Ah, there it is. Structure exported. Something is in there. Fantastic. So now we created the structure for a database. So we actually created this in order to be able to save this, and that structure that we had exported is right here. Oddly enough, and this might confuse you, when you have the structure exported in such a fashion, notice it adds the S to it. So it adds an S to pluralize it, and it must have extremely significant meaning to the coding structures and the gods who created this. I have not fully figured out, but it is a collections now, and therefore I guess it added the S. It must have some significance here. Now, I want to see what's in this thing. Okay, database db dot structures exported. So I did str and then I hit tab so it could find it. It could just download it for me, and then find. I like autocorrect a lot. So find, and then it's like there's nothing in there. Oh geez, there's nothing in there because we never saved the first variable. We created it in Node, but we never saved it. So now let's see if we can find a way to save it. Okay, so inside hello world, why don't you Now we have to go back to the bash terminal. Notice now we know in our PowerShell that there's nothing in here. It's just an empty thing. So we're like, oh, let's go and save something in it and see if we can retrieve it later. So it says, okay, now go first input dot save, and now let's see what happens here. So now we've saved it pending something is going on. Very exciting. Now it's going to say, okay, confirm that the data was saved in the Mongo database. Let's go do that. Let's go back to PowerShell. And notice here I can tell which one I'm using based on the color. Usually I change the color for PowerShell. I encourage you to change the color for PowerShell as well. Database dot structures tab str structures exported dot find. Oh, there is our variable that we had created. So well, that's nice. That's good to know that we finally were able to create it, and it's right here. So let's figure out how to change the color for Mongo here, because I kind of like having a different color. Let's see if we can figure it out fast. We'll do this in a different video actually, if this is something I remember doing. But you know, I just want to keep everything contained so I'm not deviating off course. Okay, so it did save. Can we now try to, okay, let's make sure that we tell ourselves what we've done. We've done all these steps. This is wonderful. All of this has happened. Great job. Great job, team. All of this has happened. Okay, so now we are going to try to create a new variable and save that inside the program and hope to save it directly into the database. And we're going to pause this video, and then a new video will be created for that. Cheers.